It's not appearing to me. Oh, yeah, okay, it's recording.
Okay, great. So we are going to, Savannah and I are going to kind of talk about Reels. Lily, would love your participation as much as possible too, because I know that I don't know if you've created your, I haven't seen it, but if you have, then that would be super awesome to kind of talk about it as well. No problem, Savannah. Whenever, you're totally good. Hey, Alexis, how's it going? Okay, great. So I'm just going to kind of like describe, I'm sure that you guys have heard the term newsreel. Most of the time you don't create your newsreel until you're like basically done with college. So like I would be creating my newsreel. Lily would be creating her newsreel. Savannah would be creating her newsreel. I don't think, Alexis, are you graduating this semester?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. So Alexis, since he's graduating this semester, he would also be creating his newsreel just because, I don't know if you're broadcast journalism, but that would be kind of like your reporter newsreel, or if you want to be a producer, you would have your producer newsreel. Basically, newsreels kind of sum up just your talent and your qualities that you could be doing. And you want to kind of show that as quick as possible without kind of like, I don't know, taking too long, basically. Most of the time, news directors have 30 seconds at the most that they're going to be looking at your newsreel. If they're impressed with you, they will be looking at it longer. But that is like a 1 out of 10 that they're going to really be doing that. So you want to really show your best work, and I mean your best work first. Like, for real, do not save it for the end. Do not be like, here's a sweet spot. Like, no, you better put all of your best work first. And then, like, if you have like some, I guess, okay-ish stand-ups that you were like, I really want to show that I have experience, but these were not my best, I would say put them at the end. Just because it still shows that you do have the experience, but it's like, don't put those in the front because that's not going to be impressive. That's going to be like, oh, she's a college student, or oh, he's a college student and they're just practicing. I'm sure Lily can probably talk about it a little bit more as well, but newsreels are a huge like stressor. Like, you really want to do that. If you want to get into producing, if you want to be an MMJ, if you want to be an anchor, if you want to be any of those things, you have to have a specialized reel tailored to those. So I don't know, Lily, I saw that you unmuted yourself.
Yes. So I got, I had done my, Lincoln did my reel.
Yeah.
So I put it on LinkedIn, and an actual professional who works for NBC in Washington saw it, and we actually had a Zoom meeting. So I was like, he commented on it, and I'm like, oh, can I have any like critiques, And so I had a Zoom with him, and the critiques he gave me was to put a picture of myself, both in the front and towards the end.
Yeah.
But that's optional. But I know that, I think LinkedIn basically, he first told us it's optional. You don't have to, but I've heard from multiple people it's recommended to have like your headshot in the beginning and then at the end. And then also, if it was shot through the phone, it's also important to add that there so they can know you can like, make a package out of a simple phone, Yeah. And also for the anchoring, so if you have anchoring for like Valley View News, the guy told me that I should put that towards the end. Mm-hmm. Lincoln told me that too, but he did mine, but he actually put some of my anchoring footage in the front. So he contradicted himself, but he said always try to put that towards the end, because news directors really want to see like your stand-ups, like the first 30 seconds, like you said. So.
Yeah. The first 30 seconds, I would say stand up, maybe anchor, stand up. Mm-hmm. So if you really have like a really good anchoring that you're doing, put it in the front, but I'd say put 2 stand-ups before the actual anchoring that you're doing, just so they're like, okay, she knows how to do a stand-up, or okay, he knows how to do stand-up, they know how to do stand-up. That's like there's literally the bread and butter that you need to show that you know the basics of journalism and broadcast journalism, to be specific. So
And then,
basically, oh yeah, go ahead.
so stand-ups are subjective to every news director. I know Professor Davis likes, for us students, he wants us to do, he doesn't like us for us to do bridges. He really basically wants a standard to stand up. I know that LinkedIn also always encourages to do active stand-ups. So it also varies, like it's very subjective on which stand-up to, use. I was so confused. I was like, should I do like creative one, or should I just do a active one, or just a basic stand-up regular one? And it's just very subjective to every news director. But I feel like if you have a mixture of all of them, maybe try to include them.
Yeah, so a lot of news directors, just kind of like basing off of here in LA, or like here in just California in general, so like Santa Barbara or Monterey or Fresno or Bakersfield. When you're talking to these news directors, and I know for a fact, especially in Monterey and Santa Barbara, the first 2 or 3 stand-ups, they're looking for active stand-ups. And I'll explain what an active stand-up is in a second, because I have a couple different videos that I'm going to be showing. But the active stand-up is basically like you have a prop, or you have like some sort of movement in your stand-up, or you have something that you're really bringing the audience in to the scene that you're at, and it makes the audience feel like they're there. A basic stand-up would be like me right here, like literally maybe like a little bit more further back, and then I would be like in the middle looking at the camera being like, for Valley View News, I'm Sophia Lesios. And that's great, and you should be able to know how to do those, but that is so basic to the point that I don't know if you have like
Okay, am I?
but that is so basic to the point that like it is, I guess, like overplayed. It's just they've seen it too much to the point where they're not impressed with it anymore. Like maybe if we were in the 80s, it would be something that would be like, oh wow, that's great. But right now everybody's doing just normal stand-ups, and that's you kind of want to prove that you have a personality that is super likable, and that you also know how to be creative, and you know how to show your personality in your stand-ups while you're being creative. And I know that each and every one of you is definitely creative. You all are completely different than me, Lily, Bea, Dorico, Alexis, Savannah, Jesse. Like we're all completely different, and I'm sure all of our stand-ups and all of our creative parts of us would be completely different from each other, which is awesome. So I'm gonna kind of like show a couple videos explaining how like different reels that you could be putting together. Ironically, all of these videos have women in them. I didn't just I didn't like pick that just because, like it just kind of happened. Lincoln sent me a lot of these videos, which if you haven't taken Valley View News, and you will take Valley View News, you'll meet Lincoln. Super awesome, very nice guy. But he sent me most of these. I just kind of wanted to reiterate that and show you guys. So I'm going to share my screen. Jesse and his glasses, loving this. Okay, great. I don't know if you could see this. Okay. So basically, this one is going to be talking about your confidence. So I'm going to just kind of play it from 15 seconds, and you will actually see one of our guest speakers in here, which is kind of exciting.
Stories. You're a student. What can you have? Like remember we did some stand-ups on people stealing the bikes. So we did that.
Oops, sorry.
So they're not serious, but my news director told me, she's like, your reel stood out to me because you looked very confident in what you were saying. She's like, you looked really confident, and I want you to show me that you can do something.
They're very worried about your delivery. So if you come off like you know what you're talking about, even if it's still a work in progress, they like your on-camera presence, because as you know, a viewer at home is going to listen to what you're saying, but a viewer at home feels like they know you, right? So the news director wants to see a little bit of that personality. So a lot of times, I know I did this, when you first start out, you feel like, okay, this is what a news reporter has to sound or look like. You know, and so a lot of times it makes you refrain from showing your personality or showing a certain aspect of it, because of that. But don't be afraid to just like be a little bit more, you know, a little bit looser with your stand-ups, a little bit more laid back, but also obviously, you know, having that strong presence.
So, sorry, I don't know what's playing right now. We're gonna just, oh, that's like a hip hop mix. Let's just not do that. Okay. So basically, Vianney, especially, we did have her as our guest speaker, so she was super awesome. She did kind of talk about this as well. No problem, Bea. I completely understand. But this meeting is not going to take that long anyway. But basically, you want to have confidence when you're doing your stand-ups. You can't look like you're super scared. Even if you are super scared, just pretend like you're not for like 10 seconds. That's all it is. First off, your stand-up should not be longer than 10 seconds. If your stand-up is longer than 15 seconds, I'd say redo that, because that should not be longer than 15 seconds. And when you're doing a stand-up as well, make sure that you're bringing in new information that you haven't talked about in your package. I know that you haven't completely written your package yet, but when you're doing your stand-up, kind of think about what you're going to be saying in your package and say, okay, well, if like I did a stand-up a couple days ago, I would say like 4 days ago, that I was talking about the poppy fields and how they're not blooming this year because the weather is just so dry. And usually when the poppies bloom in Antelope Valley, that there's going to be about 10 inches of rain each year. But this year we have less than 2 inches. And so it's just super dry right now. And I talked about that in the package. My stand-up, I said that there's other California parks that are offering camping, trail use, and other activities, that these are something that's just something that people can be using, and then you kind of just do your sign off. But that's new information that I did not bring up, and just having that is super important, and making sure that you know exactly what you're talking about. That one sentence should be like, hey guys, I'm here, like this is super, like I'm awesome type of stand-up, because you want to show that you're confident in front of the camera, even if you're terrified. Like some people are terrified, but you want to make sure that it doesn't look like you're terrified in front of the camera, because that's literally like your entire career that you're pretty much representing in 10 seconds. And then Lily, you could comment whenever you want, or anybody else who's familiar with newsreels as well. You can kind of chime in, and feel free to ask questions too. Okay, so I'm gonna also show another video. This is kind of just talking about how many stand-ups should you have in your newsreel?
How many stand-ups did you have before you went into your packages?
So I didn't have very many. Unfortunately, I wish I did more, but I think I had like 4.
Decca Fogg will continue to do more research on breast and pancreatic cancer.
I am currently standing outside of the SoCal Gas Company facility.
I should have done more packages in college.
Yeah, I have like 9 good ones to choose from, but I was told I should probably narrow it down to about 3 to 5 at max.
It's hard. Choose your best ones. I'm putting together my reel right now for my next job, and I had to take out a few because I really liked them and they were good and they were active, but maybe I didn't look so great or that dress wasn't the best, so I took it out.
So just kind of like what she's saying, that you should have your best stand-ups, 3 or 4 stand-ups as the best ones that you're going to be putting forward. I would say 4 to 5 max. Don't be putting like 9. I know that that girl mentioned that she had 9 stand-ups. Don't be putting all of those. Make sure that you are confident. You sound confident. You also sound like you know what you're talking about, even if you don't know what you're talking about or you're not as familiar with that subject when you were covering that story. Just make sure that you sound like you know what you're talking about. But basically, when that one stand-up that was shown, that was an active stand-up. And I'll show you a couple more of these as well.
of the tactics for competitive debate is the art of spreading, which is when a competitor speed reads over 4 pages of arguments in less than 4 minutes. It's the middle of October, but it's still a pretty hot day today, which is why they have bowls like this placed throughout the event to keep the dogs hydrated.
Flying can be stressful, but Maggie and Jasmine are here to ease your pain.
Technicians recommend checking your oil levels before going on the road and making sure it's filled up to the upper dot on the dipstick.
The Jeopardy program is also offered in other locations within Los Angeles County.
This is just the beginning of the gas price hike here in Mexico, and it is expected to get worse.
This tradition brings the community together to honor and remember loved ones. In Northridge, Abril Preciado, Valley View News.
The 3 most common pieces of trash found in California beaches are cigarette butts, bottle caps, and of course, plastic. These trash cans have been set out throughout the beach to help out with the pollution.
Well, multiple studies have been conducted showing the correlation between exercise and GPA, showing that students who exercise at least 20 more minutes during the day have a higher GPA. So if you want to increase your grades in the classroom, increase your heart rate at the gym. Now, Barbara says she is not homeless, but she simply enjoys the student environment. So every morning she comes and lays right here on this couch. It's common for students to carry backpacks that are too heavy for.
So I think you kind of like got the idea of an active stand-up where you're walking and talking, you're kind of like doing something where it's bringing somebody into the story. And I think Lily can kind of talk about it more. Lily actually had a package that she did recently at a protest that she was doing an active stand-up that was really great. And Savannah actually had a really cool one too that she did recently, that she was on roller skates, which was that was really cool. I mean, I enjoyed that. It's just fun.
I would say though, if you're gonna do an active stand-up like that, make sure you're not gonna crack your head open. Like, don't put yourself in danger to get that shot. But active stand-ups are also really great. So if you can do it, I definitely recommend it.
Yeah. Like, I was doing a package and it had to do with mail. So I literally put my cell phone into my mailbox and opened my mail, grabbed the mail from inside, like you could see me grabbing the mail, and then I just kind of talked. And it was, I mean, that's kind of like interesting. That's not just like me standing next to my mailbox and being like, oh yeah, there's a mail shortage right now and it's taking longer because of the pandemic. It's just, you have to kind of think about it and be like, what would the audience want? Like, what would be interesting to see?
Can I say something really quick?
Yeah.
Like, as a beginner, don't stress about active stand-ups if you just can't think of it, though. Do not stress about it. At first, like, if you just get to the basic, regular stand-ups. And then as you're doing more packages, you're going to get more creative. So don't, like, stress about, oh, my God, I need an active cat. Like, if you can, like, think of it, like, on the spot, that's great. But again, at first I was, like, stressing, like, how am I going to do that? Like how Sophia with the whole mailbox, that's super cool. But I mean, I don't think I would have thought of that, at the moment, because sometimes you're like under stress, like you're under a time period. So you're like, oh no, exactly. I know that professionals actually, like, we have a whole week or even more to do one package.
Exactly.
But like as a like once you're like in a job, you only have a certain amount of time. Sometimes you don't have enough time to think spontaneously for like an active stand-up. So like active stand-ups are the best. They are the most, they're just, I don't know, they are not ordinary, right? But again, if you're like, just don't stress about them either,
I think it's good to always film a safety stand-up and always try and do a creative active stand-up, but it kind of takes the pressure off, because if it doesn't end up working out, you have something to use.
Exactly.
But even if you're not confident enough to start using them in the packages you're making, you can at least film them at the stories and kind of build up to it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's definitely a really good point to make, Savannah, as well. Tarika. But I definitely feel like that's a good point, because of the fact that if, let's say you kind of say something weird in your active stand-up, or like you thought it looked really good, and then you look back at it like a couple hours later and you're like, oh my gosh, that looks so weird, like I just look awkward in it. A safety stand-up of you just, I'm here alive, whatever, like I'm reporting at a protest right now. There's protests on La Brea, and they're protesting against like the Black Lives Matter movement or something. There was a White Lives Matter movement or White Lives protest that was in Huntington about maybe a month ago. And you know, that's, you could literally just be standing there and that's still interesting because you're in a protest. So always film a safety stand-up just in case, but you could still try to do all your creative things that you want. Like literally do every creative thing that you think of. I would say 50% of them are not going to turn out great, but there's that other 50% that's going to be super awesome. So I'm going to kind of go into a little more about talking about what news directors would want or what they usually look at in the newsreels.
They honestly look at the first 30 seconds of your reel. I'm sorry, I know like we work so hard to put like an 8-minute tape together, but they get like so many tapes and so many applicants, they don't have time to like go through your whole tape. And if they like you leave like a good impression on them, then you might get that phone call. But if they don't like you in the first like 2-3 clips they see, stand-ups they see, then sorry.
They're able to look at it, they're able to get through it, and they're able to see, hey, I like this person. You know, I found out that Dennis had a system. He'd be like, you know, yes, maybe, no, obviously, but you know, he put you in that pile and he go back and look at it again later and see if he felt the same way about it.
Reel wise, I would suggest trying to be kind of active in your reel shots. I know it can be hard, like obviously as college students, you guys are MMJs as well. But, you know, if you're moving around a little bit or doing something a little, you know, out of the ordinary, that catches a news director's eye.
It's very hard to do, but news directors do like a lot is you moving around. So don't just stand there and hold the microphone because anyone can do that. Move around and show something.
I would put the first clip either your most active or where you're like the most presentable, because, you know, those first like 15 seconds, a news director is going to know.
Yeah.
So, you know, just lead with your strongest. That's my biggest thing. Lead with your strongest and what you think, wow, that's who I want to hire. And really.
Exactly. And I think they all had a really great point that they made. And sorry if you hear my cat meowing, but I think they all had a really great point of talking about you need to put your best work first. And the news director that you're going to be applying to, it doesn't matter if you're applying in Nebraska, doesn't matter if you're applying in Honolulu, in Alaska, they're going to be looking at the first 30 seconds, and that's going to be the max. If they really like you, it'll be past 30 seconds. But most of the time, I would say 10, 15 seconds that they're going to be looking at, and if they're like, nope, this is not for me, they're moving on, and they just toss it. So really try to put your best work forward and put like 4 or 5 clips in the front max, and then put your packages, which is going to be like maybe 2 packages. So basically what I'll get to you in 1 second, Jesse. Basically like what your reel is going to look like Lily was saying, put a headshot there first, and then put your email as well. And I would say like your whatever your social media at would be, what you want your news director to find you. LinkedIn, that's probably the best. If you have a journalism Instagram, or if you have like a Twitter that you just post like journalism stuff on there, then I would say put that as well. But put like a little clip of just like you could create it on canva.com, which Lily's familiar with. Because she creates like all of our stuff on there. But you could do it on Canva. Just put like a picture of yourself, your contact, which is your email. Don't put your phone number because random people could find it and then you just don't want that. And then I would say stand up. So like 4 or 5 stand-ups, and then put 2 different packages. And at the very end, you could either put like some anchoring that you did, and then also that same image that you put in the front. Jesse, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm just piggybacking off of what you're just saying right now. I mean, you look at anything on social media right now, like any videos or anything like that. The rule for posting on social media, like especially with videos, longer videos or just any length, is that you have like what 3 seconds, if that, to capture the viewer. If not, they're gonna keep on scrolling. It's the same thing with like these producers and everything like that. They're gonna go through all of their reels that they have to go through or don't have to go through. And like if you don't capture anyone in like those first couple seconds, like, I mean, you look at TikTok right now, like most of them start off with like, don't scroll, like just check this out. You know, like they try to really grab them. It's the same thing with this. I mean, you want to put all of your best work at the beginning because these people don't have time to look through hundreds of reels, which is, you know, if you want to work in LA, if you want to work in the big markets, I mean, they're going to be going through hundreds of thousands of reels. So you really have to keep that in mind. I mean, not to put any pressure, but it's like, you have to be proud of your work. Your work has to honestly be good. And I mean, it has to be objectively good too. I mean, you have to like put all of that and put it in the front and just make sure it's there for everyone to see all the time. Just go into everything with that mentality. And I mean, should be good. I mean, it's like Lily said earlier, you know, you're gonna practice at first. You're gonna be bad at something at first. Like everyone's bad at something at first, unless you're like naturally just gifted. But that's not everyone. A lot of people work to be good at something. So just keep practicing and put your best work out there. I mean, that goes with anything you guys do.
Yeah. Lily, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, since we were talking about social media, make sure you clean out your social media, because I was told by many people that news directors actually look into your Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, anything. So literally, like I had gone to a trip in Cancun or whatever, and I had a bathing suit picture, and I'm like, oh wait, this is not, you know. So I just archived it. So like, just don't post about drinking, or even though it's you think it's private, it's just basically still out there.
I would also suggest, this is what I did. I changed my name on my personal stuff. So my last name's not in it, and I made it all super private. And then I made a separate journalism page for all my professional work. I mean, that's extra work. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to, but
have you
preferred to keep my private life private, so I thought it was helpful.
Have you tried Googling yourself? I Googled myself, and literally my Instagram.
I Google myself a lot.
I Google myself a lot because I just want to make sure. Like literally, it just comes out. So it's like if you're gonna do a different one, make sure like it doesn't come out in Google, or else it's, you know, it's gonna be insane. So,
I mean, if you feel like you really need to post like a picture of you in a bikini, and like we all feel like that sometimes, Jessie especially. I mean, there's a really great option of having a closed friends list on your Instagram story. And that only lasts 24 hours. Plus you get to pick who's exactly viewing your story as well, which is super awesome. And you get that kind of like gratification of like, ooh, I looked cute in this, or like I looked good, but you're still staying professional on your actual professional or just regular Instagram as well. Which is super awesome. And then you could also know exactly who saw your picture, which then you could like track them down and be like, why did you send that to my news director or whatever? But you know, like you could have, those are really great options for either one. Clean your Instagram out, archive whatever. Like if you go to raves a lot, don't stop going to raves. I encourage you. But at the same time, don't be posting about you like in like something that's really skimpy, and that doesn't look good for the company. So I would say keep that to yourself, or make a Instagram or social media page or something that literally does not have your name on it, that people can't really associate it with. And you just want to try to look as professional as possible. So
at the end of the day, you're going to be representing a company. So they don't want to be affiliated with someone who's always posting that they're drinking, or they're, I don't know. They just want you to be professional. If you're going to do that, go ahead by all means, but don't post it or put it in a private, friends only type of thing. Don't put it so everyone can see.
Exactly. Another solution, make a very private Snapchat and only send it to your close friends. If you really have to send anything, but I mean, it's not really, personally, I don't think it's that important to be like, oh yeah, I'm drinking, look at me.
Yeah, you can do anything tastefully. I mean, you can just like post a picture of your drink. You don't have to like post a picture of yourself. Woo! You know, it doesn't have to be like that all the time or ever. I mean, like, they just want to know you're mature with everything you do. They like, this is just jobs in general for social media. While we're on it really quick, I mean, just jobs in general want to know that they're hiring a person. They don't want to necessarily hire a robot. So it's like, yeah, I mean, if you want to post yourself going crazy all the time, separate social media. But if you can do it tastefully and make everything like, you know, if you're the artsy type and it's like, oh yeah, I'm drinking this alcoholic beverage, but like you get the lighting perfect all the time and the video just looks great, that's where I think it's okay. But, you know, like everything you guys said, just do it tastefully. I mean,
Yeah, like
if you do it tastefully, you're good.
don't be looking like you're partying every weekend. But
yeah.
you could
You
also
can.
be looking like you're, I mean, like I have a picture of me like holding like I would show it if I could, but I have a picture of me like holding like a glass of wine at the beach. But I'm not like in a bikini, like pouring it on my face or something. Like I'm not like it literally is just like a cute picture that I like. Nobody's gonna be like, oh my god, she goes out and like parties every weekend, like that's weird. So just kind of think about what you post before you post it, basically. Just think. Like it's not that hard to just double, like really just like think about it twice before you post something and be like, is this necessary? Like, is this something that I really want to post? And then if it is, then go right ahead, but also think about how, if there could be any consequences that could happen. And like Jesse said, it's for any job. It's not just for journalism. Like it literally is for like any marketing, PR, anything. That's just kind of how it is. Even if you're a celebrity, they do the exact same thing too.
Yeah.
So just kind of reiterating with the reels, make sure that you're putting your best stuff forward. Don't overthink it when you're doing your stand-ups. Don't try to stress about like always trying to have an active stand-up and then making sure like make sure what you're saying too sounds good. Don't like reiterate something that you're going to say in your story, and also make sure that it's a coherent sentence. I've seen some stand-ups that is like, what did they just say? So just make sure that you're speaking clearly and your writing is good. If you have to call a friend and say, hey, does this sound okay? Or call your professor and be like, what do you think I should be saying at this point? That's helpful too. Like that is also something that I'm sure they would be fine with. Call me if you want me to. You can call me. That's fine. I'm not gonna like throw Savannah and be like, you can call her too, but
don't call me. Just kidding. You guys can call me too. No, but I've talked to people and helping them write scripts for their stories and stand-ups, and it's really helpful to you know, push ideas off of each other. So
yeah,
and Sophia are always here, even though this is our last meeting.
Yeah.
We'll always be here for you guys.
I know. And welcome Jesse and Bea as your new president and vice president. Congratulations. Super exciting.
As I'm like choking on water.
But yeah, does anybody have any questions before? I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time tonight. I know that it's 5:45. Just our last meeting. Any questions about reels? I don't know, Alexis, if you have any questions, or Tariko.
No, I don't have any right now.
Well, for me, I do have a question actually. During the pandemic, I actually stay very isolated. So during that time, I only have 2 video packages. And the other ones that I have are audio-based packages that I did for Cohen, for Sally, when I was taking the 315 and then the 335, the 395 B and C with Sally Turner. Yeah.
What
So
would go ahead?
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No. What's your question?
My question is, since I have 2 packages that are video and I have multiple packages that are audio, is there a way I can mash them together?
So I have an answer for this. So
Mhm.
when I was doing KCSN and I was doing some of the radio stories, my solution to that for posting it on social media was adding a photo. So if you have a photo from a story that you went to that was like an audio piece, or if you
Mhm.
can find one on Google, you can put the copyright on it, and that's a way to have a visual, and then you can just put like this includes radio work as well or audio work as well.
Yeah, I would put that as well. Oh, go ahead, Lily.
I personally would not match them to put them together. Well, actually, no. Actually, it depends what you want to do. If you want to be a reporter, realistically speaking,
Mhm.
they want your packages, right? So that it wouldn't really make sense to send your audio to a news director unless it's like a news, like a news radio, right? I would actually keep them separate, and if you can, make more, what
Yeah,
again,
get more
do.
work to add in there eventually, then you can continue to edit your reel. I mean, if you really want to get one up, that's one way to solve it, is to put like an image. But I'd also encourage trying to get more visual work as well. And if you are worried about COVID, I know me and Sophia have been doing a ton of stand-ups with masks on outside. I don't know if that's something you would be comfortable with. I think news directors are also more understanding right now as we're trying to get out of the whole COVID situation, that a lot of people might not have as many stand-ups because of that reason.
I actually, most of my stand-ups for Valley View News, it's a requirement to wear your mask.
Yeah, for Valley View News,
All
yeah.
of my stand-ups have masks.
Even some of my personal ones I did on my own, I wore a mask too. So I think news directors are definitely understanding of that whole part also.
Yeah. And then also kind of like to add on to Savannah and Lily, when like I know that you said that during the pandemic that you've wanted to kind of stay home the entire time, you could kind of incorporate your home with reporting as well. And that could be something that you could either like you could film a stand-up like on Zoom, or you could do something that might be a little bit more creative at your own home, or if you feel comfortable going to a park or different things, and try to find, if you feel more comfortable in like your own city or different things that is in your area, try to find a story that would be interesting literally right next to you. And so you could just film a stand-up that would be in your own personal space because you're familiar with that area. And that would bring more of, first off, that would look more of a local news, which news directors love. And you would feel more comfortable there filming a stand-up rather than going out to a foreign place or unfamiliar place that you've never been to. And you don't have to get something that's like a national news story. You can get something that's like your next door neighbor owns their own grocery store and it was affected by the pandemic, but they have been surviving because they're selling their homegrown oranges or something. Like, that's interesting. And that's something that would be really interesting because then you could just film in front of an orange tree or something like that. Does that make kind of sense?
Yeah, it does actually.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to also mention this, like, let's say for example, oh, sorry about that.
Bea just left, just letting you guys know, but she wanted to say thank you. But go ahead, Alexis.
When you did the thing where you put your phone in the mailbox and then open it, also, like, if we were doing like stories based on like fruit, we can try putting our devices, like, let's say on the pile of a fruit basket, and just like
Grabbing.
when, yeah, like if you were grabbing for a fruit, instead you're grabbing for your
For your phone.
yeah, and make it seem like you actually grabbed a fruit, but yet you're also doing your stand-up at the same time.
That's actually awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that would be great. I think any sort of creative stand-up would be awesome. You could even be doing like a stand-up on like a hiking trail or something. Put your phone down to like your feet level and show your shoes that you're wearing, like hiking shoes, or that you're showing something, and then like pick up your phone. You could even have something that's like creative like that, where you pick it up, or you have like a GoPro or something to where it kind of like shows the environment that you're in. I've seen somebody to where they were talking about the lack of toilet paper that we had at the beginning of the pandemic, and they literally had a they had a GoPro that they put inside the toilet and they flushed the toilet, and it literally, you could see like the toilet flushing. I know that it's like, some people would say it's a little bit distasteful, but it's creative, and that caught my eye. I mean, like, I remember it, and I haven't seen that in like 8 months. Like, I literally haven't watched that video in so long. Stand-ups don't necessarily have to be like as professional as you think they should. You don't have to wear a suit and stand in front of the camera and look like Anchorman the entire time. You could literally have something that's super creative. You could like, even like if you're talking about like fall leaves, you could have your phone inside a pile of leaves, pick up that pile, and people are seeing, they feel like they're there with you, or even like the snow, or just anything in general. It's not as like pressing as it was before, when journalism was first starting out, where you had to do stand-ups, maybe even like 10 years ago, where it's like you have to stand there, you have to look super professional. You obviously be professional, I'm not saying like don't be professional, but you can be creative and show your personality. And I don't know, Alexis, if you're into like comic books, or if you're into certain things like Star Wars or different things like that, you could bring that up in a story as well. Like, you could have like your own certain, you know, little Alexis thing that you want to do.
Well, back when I was doing a KCSN, me and Esteban got to collaborate on a story piece, and it was about Pokemon. He's a Pokemon fanatic, I'm a Pokemon fanatic, so we just did it. We wrote based on a video game that came out about almost like 2 years ago. And it was actually kind of very fun, because I got very stuck on a few things. Like, I didn't know how I was going to explain it. So I asked Esteban, like, hey, I'm having a bit of trouble. Can you give me a little tips? And then he helped me try to reword it, because the way how I was explaining it, I kind of got a bit like too informative.
Yeah.
Like way too informative. So yeah.
That's okay. But
yeah.
I think that making sure that you're showing things that you're passionate about is something that will also help you have a great stand-up. Go ahead, Savannah.
I just wanted to let everybody know I have to leave. The journalism department awards are tonight, and I have to be there. But I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. I loved working with everybody, and I can't wait to see what happens with the club next semester. Jesse, you're in charge, so I believe in you. Okay, I'm gonna make you a host, Sophia, and then I'm gonna drop off.
No problem. But I think that, I mean, this is basically like, we're basically done with the meeting, but bye, Savannah. Thank you.
Bye, Savannah.
But I think that kind of like summed up what a newsreel should be, and also just your stories in general. Cover something that you're actually passionate about. It shows what you actually care about when you're talking about something you know. I mean, I would be able to tell, and if I could tell and I'm a student, I think a news director can tell when they look at stories all the time. So make sure that you're doing something that you're passionate about. Make sure that you're doing something that's locally to you, that you feel comfortable in. I think that helps a lot. Obviously, you can cover protests, and let's say we don't all live in like the center of Los Angeles, so some of us would have to drive a little bit further for that. And yeah, that's kind of cool, but at the same time, like, I think local news is just as important as something that's making national news as well.
Again, because like say if I live in LA, I want to know what's happening locally. I mean, I do care what's happening in like Massachusetts, but it's not affecting me, right? So I don't really, you know, that's how it is. Like, people locally, they want to know what's happening local because it's affecting them.
Exactly.
Right.
Like, I covered a story for ABC7 that I actually showed nationally, and they actually had so many people calling from LA saying, I want to go up there. It's a restaurant where I live. I live in Acton. And there's this local restaurant that has been there since the 1800s that they made it for the gold miners. And it's called the 49er. and it's literally like the cutest little cowboy restaurant that they have. It's all like cowboy themed too. They have pictures of like all of the like the gold rush back then, and like they literally have some of the dishes that have not, the recipe hasn't changed since like 1870 or something, like these corn fritters and different things. But that is literally like 5 minutes from my house. Like I could walk there if I really wanted to. But people thought that was interesting. And if you're not going to be posting that, I mean, like, I think that it's interesting, but I'm locally from there. So you just kind of have to think about it, because I'm sure most of you have never, I'm sure you haven't heard of it at all, but that's something that other people would want to know about. I mean, I would go to a restaurant if I heard that they had some really great, something cool that like I've never even heard of, or that's really interesting with history behind it, or they have some cool architecture, or they have something that's just really awesome that you if you think it's really awesome, I'm sure other people would too as well. Awesome. So I'm going to end the meeting. Any last minute comments? You guys are completely welcome, but I just wanted to say thank you guys for coming today. I'm like gonna cry. I love the RTDNA so much. I really helped, like, this was something that helped me when I transferred to CSUN, and so I have been in it for the last like 2 years now, and I think this has just been such a wonderful experience, especially being president and putting in as much work as I tried to. I know that it's going to be in good hands, and I'm really happy for everybody who kind of came today, but I appreciate all of you. I know that you guys are probably stressed out with finals, but I I appreciate everybody, and I wish you guys the best in your careers.
You too. Thank you so much for all of the work you put in. You too, Lily. I mean, like, you both are leaving. These are like huge shoes we have to fill. So I'm like, oh man. But thank you both for all of the work that you guys put in. I mean, you can see it. Obviously you can see it, but it's like, I don't know, maybe like because I'm part of it, it's like I can feel it. But I mean, like, come on. Like, you look how emotional you're getting. Lily, I can tell you're about to get emotional too, just a little bit, like, because this is like the stuff, this is your work and it's there. So yeah, I get it. And I don't know, I'm proud of you guys, you ladies. Yes. Congrats, great work. Keep on putting out great work. And we'd love to have you guys back as guests when you can, because you guys are probably going to be busy still. So
Thank you. But I currently resign as president. So thank you guys so much for the rest of the semester. And have a great rest of your semester. And I hope you guys do really well in your finals. But bye, guys. Jesse, stay on. But
Bye.
bye.